All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know there's going to be quite a few more people joining the call today, but first of all, I want to say thank you, and I can't express to you how excited I am to see your faces. It's been 1 year exactly to the moment, to the minute we were standing on the beach, getting ready to enter the water, getting told of what the paddle boards do and how to get on them and which ones we should be doing. And we were asked at that time to take a moment and consider what strength that we have had, that we possess, that has allowed us to get through challenge in our lives. Little did I know how much we were going to lean into those strengths in the past 12 months. Isn't it crazy? So what I really want you to do before we get into this is I want you to consider for a minute if that strength is the same strength that helped you get through this last year, and potentially what additional strengths did you discover in yourself, find, nurture, grow, and make more and integrate to get through the past 12 months. And we're going to ask for you to share some of those stories as we move through the next hour together. But before we do, I want to thank George Gann actually for driving this. George reached out to me about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, and was like, Chuck, we need to do this. Chuck, we need to do this. Chuck, we need to do this. And I said, yes, I agree. And then I dropped the ball and didn't do anything. And I got so busy with other excuses. And finally I was like, oh crap, it's like coming. We got to get this thing done. And thank you for pivoting and being here on such short notice, because I'll take the blame for that. And then, and Danny, I just so love and appreciate your, we were just having a little pre-meeting before we got into this group, and little did I know, what was it, September, October of 2019, when Michelle first introduced you to me, and we started talking and developing the content for the Regional Leadership Academy. Little did I know at the time just what a impactful person you would be on my life, and how much I've come to just absolutely love the human being that is Dr. Danny Fraindlin. And I just, you're always giving, your gracious desire to just continue to serve this group through your life and through your experience is just a testament, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring, I think, to everybody. So nobody wants to hear from Chuck Bender. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic over to George and Danny. So George, I'll let you take it from here, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Chuck. And likewise, I'm so happy. I'm so delighted to see everybody. I'm sitting here in warm Malaysia. As I start the morning staring at everybody, I recall how we all, a year ago, went to Hawaii as leaders of our various chapters, and we came back as a community, as a RLA community. And one thing that really kicked us off and started us off in Hawaii was our day one, where we meet a new friend, Daniel, and it was an astonishing day. It was a day that really allowed us to really immerse into the RLA and the changes and transformation. And when I met Daniel for the first time, and after a quick moment, I found him to be so authentic and generous in his way of sharing and willingness to teach. And as you all know, in the last few months, effective November the 12th, Danny himself is now on his toughest journey. And when I spoke to him, I was very, very fortunate. Since Hawaii, I've been in touch with Danny almost every month. We started a monthly routine where we spend an hour and a half together since March. And my call with him was on the 9th of November. And on the 12th of November, he was diagnosed with his brain cancer. So I was able to sort of had the opportunity and the joy of just staying in touch with Danny in the last 12 months every month, and see how he is taking on the challenge. So when I spoke to Danny, his wish was to get reconnected with this community, this group of amazing people, and I wanted to frame it in two ways and allow Danny to have a conversation, with us. This is not a structured training; it's just a conversation among ourselves. And I'm going to frame two questions, and Danny can take his time to answer it. And then we're going to open to everybody for feedback, for your own sharing of who have you become in the last 12 months as well. So I'm going to go that way. We'll do it for let Danny have about 15, 20 minutes. But as you know, Danny is at this moment feeling a bit fatigued and tired, and there are good moments and more difficult moments. So we will adjust and accommodate as we go along. Is that okay, Danny? So maybe, we can start, Danny, by you sharing with us an update of your current journey, what's going on since your diagnostic on the 12th of November. And you started a YouTube channel to perhaps record this journey and to share it with the world. So I'm going to pass it to you and allow you to have the free flow, Daniel.
Well, thank you, George, and thank you for this opportunity to be back with you. It is a reunion, and together we grow. And so I'm here to continue with the aspiration of serving you well. And my superpower in the water, paddling out, when we ask the question, where have you been, ever experienced a life of choppy water, and you've broken through and you've come through stronger as a result? So think about this for all of our lives. We've all been through adversity. My challenge is cancer, but whatever challenges, you've been through tremendous. And my cancer challenge is no more significant than your challenges that you've been through. So my, superpower is making glorious meaning out of adversity, transforming adversity into strength. And that's what I've been doing. And so when I was hospitalized with my diagnosis, and I was on a coaching call, and I had word block. I had significant word block. I couldn't get my words out. I went into the ER on November 12th. And long story short, I got the MRI, and they shared the diagnosis that you have multiple lesions in your brain. And so at the time, the differential diagnosis was metastatic brain cancer or multifocal primary brain cancer, which neither of which is an ideal thing. And then you can imagine we're in the time of COVID, that my family couldn't come up to the ER, to the ward with me. And so I was admitted to the ward alone. And that was a night of fear, when the reactive brain defaults to the questions, why me, why now? What are all the catastrophes that could happen? And that puts us into a world of suffering. The default brain is designed to save our lives, but also put us into a world of suffering. So since my diagnosis, or since I was with you, I also I had been through a certification in appreciative inquiry led by the exchange community. And that was the exercise that we shared in the water. It's David Cooper Ryder says, questions create worlds. Questions create worlds. And that's a difference between the default question tends to put us in a world of suffering, but the generative question has the capacity to put us in a world of flourishing, a world of flourishing. And when I found the generative question, I found an energetic expansion. So the signature of suffering is an energetic contraction. The signature of a generative question leading into a stream of expansion. Those are breadcrumbs. So the generative question I asked, I moved from the question, what now, to what matters most now. It's a subtle change in the question. What matters most now? And when your life is running short, only one answer makes sense. It's make every moment count. It's make every moment count. And this leads, there's an altitude of questions. There's an altitude of questions. And if you get a sufficient altitude of question, what ends up happening is it results in a cascade of answers, questions, answers that touches down with something pragmatic in your life. Touches down with something pragmatic. So it went like this. What matters most now? And I got the answer back, make every moment count. And then another simple question, how? How? And then I got the answer back in two streams. My answer came back in two streams. And so, these questions help architect any of you through your adversity. Any of you through your adversity. What matters most now? Make every moment count. I think that's would you agree that that's actually always a good answer? And then the next answers was live intensely loving relationships. Live intensely loving relationships. In cycles of giving and receiving love, making every moment count. So I've been nourished. I've been very intentional about making every moment count since my diagnosis. And it has been glorious. I have entered a phase of flourishing like I never thought I would taste. And then I realized that the power of conscious leadership, which I've been talking about before, is only as powerful as it's connected to an awakened heart. That has the ability to catalyze and move mountains within ourselves and to actually rally people around you by awakening the heart of compassion. And many people have showered their compassion towards me, and I drink that in as good medicine. But what I love about awakened compassion, the experience of awakened compassion, what I love about it is I will receive that loving compassion, 5% of it. I won't take any more than 5%. But then I will actually say, what I love about your awakened compassion is please use the other 95% to radiate that inwards to soothe your own suffering, and then radiate that into your families, your communities, and the world at large. To use that compassion well and to experience the power of that. And then the other thread that came, which was the desire to leave a legacy with my work, emerged as a strong, strong theme. is strong theme. And that gave birth to literally on day one, where I started recording videos. So here I am. There are now, this is the Living Well from Within YouTube channel. And, you know, if you haven't subscribed already, I really encourage you all subscribe now. So what this was dedicated to, I didn't want this to be about me. I wanted to be first of all, I wanted to be about our family journey. It was important to me that this was a family journey of transformation. So it's from our family to your families. Everything that we're learning on our journey of challenge. So it's, and the tagline over here is transforming challenge into healing, growth, and flourishing wellness for you, your family, whether that's your home family or work family, and everybody and everyone you influence. So I want to put these skills into your hands. And I want to give you a taste of how the channel is rapidly evolving. So can you all see this screen with the yeah? So there are 2 start here videos to orient us. So here is in our collective voice, and each of these videos is now designed to be its own book. So it has a thumbnail cover. The subtitle, you know, of the book is now the title of the video. And then there is an active learning cycle as the content of the, so let me just share with you what the active learning cycle is. Here's the active learning cycle. So it is, we learn and transform with 3 components. And this is based on the work of Cole in experiential learning. We have content and experiences, but content and experience alone is not sufficient to create transformation. Content and experience alone is not sufficient to create transformation. It is the high quality reflection on that content and experience that creates the change that leads to inspiring action. And this is not a closed loop. This is an infinite curriculum. Life is an infinite curriculum with, when you turn it on its side, it's a spiral of experience, reflection, action, experience, reflection, action. And that's the upward spiral of learning and growth. And you could put anything in to that active learning cycle. So for example, here's my day one, where here's the active learning cycle for day one. So the content or experience is reflected in a distilled description. My journey begins here. I have just received the results from my MRI. My most likely diagnosis is a high-grade glioblastoma brain cancer. Just before my brain biopsy, to confirm, my wife asked me to record a message for our boys just in case anything happens, in case I stroked out. And the message I shot for them was, my deepest wish for them is to live a loving life. That was a distillation of my main message. So the reflection, what I want to inspire for you to reflect on is, if you received a life-threatening diagnosis, who would you reach out to? What message would you share? And then the big question, why wait? And then what actions will you take right now to share what matters most with your loved ones? And Warren, I want to give you a shout out, because there is on day 31, I did this extraordinary interview with Ed Cox. Here it is. So it's with Ed Cox. He's a fellow EO, and we spoke about the power of the 10-10-10 as it relates to the active learning cycle. And so when you get up in the morning and you drop your feet over the side of the bed, we ask a version of what matters most today. And then you go into a reading that, based on the answer, leads us into a reflective reading that is distilled content for 10 minutes. And then you go into a mindful reflection, which is the reflection piece on pausing to reflect deeply into whichever way we cultivate mindfulness or meditation or prayer. And then it leads into a journaling piece, those 10 minutes of journaling, which ideally inspires pragmatic action. And then ideally, you'll come back at the end of the day and run that cycle again. So it's a powerful integration. What I realized is it's a powerful integration with the work that you're already doing. So I'll pause here. I hope I've served well in this moment. And George, or anybody, I would invite you to allow us to let this emerge wherever else we want to go from here.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And let's just invite anybody who would like to say something, share something, ask a questions, or just, so we'll keep it fairly fluid as we move forward. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing. I really resonate with what you have said. And very often we do not need new information. We just need to be reminded what we already know, but have yet to put it into our way of life. So I really appreciate what you have said. Thank you so much. So I'm going to open this or pass this back to Charles.
So I posted the questions we started this conversation with in the chat. So who remembers the strength that they discovered or realized as they were going in the water? Just quick show of hands. Who remembers what that was? So think on that strength. Has that been the primary strength that you used from now to get through the past year, or what additional strengths did you actually discover about yourself or discover that you had to help get through COVID, and find the opportunity, I guess, in the crisis. Who's got a good story to share before I start asking individuals to share a story? So who'd like to go first? Michelle, thank you.
I can go quickly and set the stage. Daniel and everyone, it's so great to see you all again. So as COVID hit, I fell back into what matters most now. And, you know, my superpower really has to do with creative problem solving mindset. And I kind of couch that in curiosity and positivity. And, you know, as Daniel and many of you know, we just took off. We basically said, how can we turn this negative into a positive? And we piled the family into an RV and we took off and turned it into a learning adventure. So turn the negative into a positive, and that's what we chose to do. And it's great to see everyone. Thank you.
And I want to point out that I so appreciate learning from your family's journey. We spent some meaningful time together. In fact, there are some videos that we filmed together that captures our parallel journey. And I am so inspired by your journey, Michelle, your journey of actually, you've done this in your own way, you know, capturing breadcrumbs. You know, would you like to share more about, Michelle, you've got five commitments that you've learned on your journey. Would you like to share that with the group?
You know what? I'm happy to let everyone else speak. I want to be conscious of time, but if there's time, I'm happy to come back to it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Zach, you PM me. Can you share what you've discovered?
Yeah, I'll be real quick. Hey, everybody. Nice to see all these faces.
Nice to see you, Zach.
So I remember back when I was in the water there in that circle, sitting on the board, trying not to fall off. My superpower was empathy. And a way that I really saw it come to fruition this year was that feeling I had when I would see how different people were reacting to COVID, whether on social media and conversations with family and friends. Everybody reacted a little bit differently. People's behavior changed a little bit differently. And then as the months went on during lockdowns and coming out of them, some people were really quick to jump right in. You know, it's easy to jump to judgment on different pieces around COVID and how everyone deals with that. But it helped me to keep reminding that empathy is really where I need to ground myself in, and try to look at what people were going through and the stresses that were added on to them this year. That made it a lot more bearable for me. And it also helped me approach conversations with people and connect more authentically. So it definitely held true.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Warren, I'm going to pick on you a little, my friend. So you went from traveling almost every week, it seemed, to not traveling much at all. How is this year? You know, tell me about how this has played out for you.
Well, first, Danny, really pleased to be on this call with you, and good to see everybody. I distinctly remember that we were a better looking group. In I'm not quite sure what happened to us, but I think we've all gone downhill just a little bit. I'm sure you noticed plastic surgery's made a big difference for me.
No, that's a cold open right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Dionysus looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know. It looks like a pretty
Well, at least we know we're a year older, and COVID has taken us a year further down the road, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So my superpower is mindset, and it's the strength of my mind to overcome, because my life has been filled with overcoming. Something I have never talked about publicly, actually. George may have known a piece of this, but I've survived 2 near-death experiences, and I've been involved in 2 airplane crashes, and so I've looked death in the face. I was on the death watch twice in hospitals. And so when you go through that, you begin to develop a prepared mind. And that prepared mind and the strength of our mindset then gets us through things. So the pandemic and the virus is just no big deal. It's not a big deal because we're well prepared for it and we're energized by it. And it creates opportunities for us to improve our lives and ourselves in every way. That disruptive events in life create enormous opportunities. And so we've always focused on the opportunities. So it has not been difficult for us. And our whole family has done well and survived and thrived during this period of time. But it became a result, and I'm 100 years old, you all know that. So as a result of just living a lot longer than all of the rest of you, it has allowed me a time and a period of preparation for my mind to endure any challenge. And therefore, I don't live life in fear. I don't live life with concern. I live life with joy and happiness. And I'm blessed by that. And I'm blessed with a great family. And I know Danny is too. He's blessed with a great wife and strong boys. And that helps him better prepare for his journey, right? And better be in his journey. And I think all of us have to do that.
Thank you very much. Jamie, how about you?
For me, the main one was adaptability. And Daniel, also, I have this quote in front of me that I actually have my RLA Leadership Academy book right here. The quote that resonated is, every discovery you make is one less response that has the power to run you. And I've spent this entire year discovering parts of myself, elements within myself that I didn't know were there. So thank you for giving me the power of discovery. And I appreciate that. So really it's been adaptability and discovery, I would say, are the two things that I've counted on the most.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful.
Wow. And Isis, I mean, you've like, you look amazing. I have to hear your story.
Yeah. My story is a bit long, though I'll cut it short, respecting the time of everybody. Last year I came to RLA, and I had a big family issue. Like my wife couldn't get pregnant. So RLA and people in RLA helped me a lot to get this faith and strength I needed in order to reflect this strength back to my family and pass through this successfully, and to be able to say today that with my wife we have like a newborn baby that is a true joy in our family. I want to thank so much Danny, Warren, George, and every leader in this call, because you helped me a lot go through this with unique RLA style, I will call it. And I guess we all know what that means. I don't want to go over again and again, though I need to stay in this. Like, I got the lesson of seize the day, each and every day. It might be the one to change our life. If synchronicity and abundance enters the equation with useful actions for ourselves and others, the resilience level went off the roof with a lot of courage to overcome difficulties, because we can endure them. And anyways, they'll pass, and enjoying life with what is really needed to survive, not because we want to suppress ourselves. If we have more, it's okay, but to be ready, if we have less, not to feel the lack. So with appreciation, to feel the bliss of friendship and sharing and caring, that's a leader to happy life. So I'll call this abundant synchronicity, which is my motto. And I'm not going to tell you that all of this started from my first solo trip outside Greece when I was almost 20 years. And that pattern keeps on going. So I feel blessed. So Eniower told me about RAS, which is reticular activating system. That was a blast in my head, and I'm getting deeper into this. Everything is just happening in a magical way.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. That's gonna be tough to follow. So Trixie, you mentioned grit, resilience, and positivity. Can you expand on that for us?
Yes, it's really great to be here, and it's wonderful to hear Daniel speak. I had a fortunate experience with him on a one-to-one. I hope you still remember that, Daniel, and it just resonated with me. I went to the RLA thinking I needed something. I needed. I didn't know what it was, but I just went, and I knew that when I went with both feet in, I would pick something like a gift. And that gift happened many times over during that trip. One of them was really sitting down with Daniel and talking to him about the issue that I had at that time. And Daniel, that issue, I've been able to process it so much better because of what you've told me. And I share that with my forums here. I have two forums here. And I've shared that with them. And really, it's been transformational. So going back to the sea where I was paddling and I was shouting out, and little did I know that a few days later or 2 weeks later, we would be in this situation of a lockdown. And that superpower called up, really shouted out to me, which is resilience and positivity, which really were the two anchors during this pandemic. And the resilience shone through, the positivity shone through, and the resulting impact of that is the ripple effect of who I am has had a huge ripple effect on the people around me, my family, my business partners, my coworkers, my staff, my management group. They just said, wow, you seem to have all these energy. And I said to them, I now know why I was in RLA. I didn't know why I went, but I now know why, because I'm a recipient of this and I need to have that ripple effect. And now I realize I used to be a pebble. I'm now a rock, a bigger one, that when you throw me in the river, in the pond, the bigger the rock, the bigger the ripple effect. So thanks everyone. You've been an amazing, amazing influence in my life. And thank you for this anniversary, Charles, Michelle, Daniel, Warren, George. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We're just happy to see everybody's faces, and thank you for that share. I'm going to move to Jameson real quick. Tell me about how your life has changed. Like, how's the last year been?
You know, I've been really fortunate. It's been a great year. And I think what I realize when I kind of reflect on it, kind of the superpower that's carried me through this, and Cameron and Tarek will know this about me from being informed with me for years, an eternal well of optimism. I think I always rated everything a 9 and everything on my scorecard every single month in EO. And it's just been, it's for some reason that optimism just carries through. I can have all these bad stories and people are like, how'd you rate everything a 9? It's like, I'm sitting here with you guys. So that, and I think that week at RLA and the timing of it just kicked that into hyperdrive. And the second thing I just wanted to thank Daniel for was what comes back to me. Sorry, a minute. About everything that you shared that's impacted my life is the moment between when you have an emotion and a reaction and that pause that you take. It's changed my life. So thank you.
I'm going to need a moment after that. Thank you, Jameson, for the authenticity of you and your share. Thank you. I'm gonna continue around the room, but I'm gonna go to Jess. Jessica, you called out tenacity. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so tenacity has always been a core power of mine. I mean, you guys know me well now. If I face a situation, I buckle down, and through sheer will, determination, and belief, I usually just get through something. And when COVID first hit, that was my first reaction. And I was a bull in a china shop for the first 3 months of just tackling and tackling and tackling. And I got to the point where I burnt myself out, and I went into a pretty negative space where that's not usually where I land. But you know, a lot of people in this group, and because of this group and this community, I learned more how to ask for help and have the humility to say I don't know how to solve this situation. And I don't usually get choked up, but and that's, you know, through some we had some business challenges this year. We had personal challenges. We've been going through IVF, and we lost our first successful pregnancy in the fall. And I mean, it was just me realizing that I needed help, and to reach out to my friends and mentors and leaders. That's really become more powerful than the bull in the china shop mentality. So thank you all for that and teaching me that. And thank you, Daniel, for continuing to share your wisdom and your perspective on life with us.
Thank you, Jess. Andrea Houston, you're up, my friend.
Thanks, Chuck. Danny, thank you for sharing. And Danny and Chuck and Michelle and Warren and George, thank you for giving us the space last year to become who we were meant to be. At least that's how I felt. I felt that this was an impetus for me to move forward in my life in a way that I hadn't done before. I was in a coma 12 years ago for 19 days, and I lost a portion of both my lungs. So COVID was something that I had to avoid. I've been intubated before, and my pulmonary doctor said, get out of town. So we left and we went to our beach for 8 months with 2 teenage boys who were really unhappy about that decision. But the idea was to keep mom alive. So in that time, I learned more about positivity and not making it just something that I said I was. Does that make any sense? Rather than saying I was positive, I had to be positive. I had to show my kids that it's okay to be sad and be hurting and be worried and be exasperated, but you can still be positive and move forward. That's really what I took from our life, but I also took it as movement forward and the fact that I needed to support other people. I have a book coming out called Stronger on the Other Side on my 50th birthday, which is April 7th. So it'll be published that day. So thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
Can't wait to read it. I'm looking for a signed version, though. I only read signed versions of my friends' books, just so we're clear. But I'll pay the premium.
You gotta read the whole thing, Chuck, to see if you're in there.
That could be scary. Is it the not example or the good example? That's the question. So Tarek, talk to us about transcending the illusion.
Yes, right on. Again, just grateful for each of you and being with you. I felt so inoculated stepping into 2020, I guess, after, to prepare for what was ahead. And so for me, illusion, I tend to be philosophical, right? So illusion could be our strengths. It could be our culture. It could be our systems. It could be what's going well. It doesn't have to be something that's going wrong. And so when COVID hit, the reaction to the pandemic hit, it had me circle back to look at, wow, what am I addicted to in my life? What am I addicted to in my culture? And what if, that first fear of threat started to dissolve as a result, because I started to ask different questions. What if COVID was actually accelerating my life goals? What if this was removing illusions in the way that I had created or society had created around being of service to humanity and building what we're building? And so if anything, I'll be honest, like it's been fuel and nourishment because it accelerated most of my goals. So very grateful Grateful to be in the position that I was also, frankly, because it's not everything is of my own, like out of my own genius. Sometimes you have the right genetics or situation, it affects us. So just with humility, I say that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Carl.
Oh, wow. I'm on already.
Yes.
Hey, it's so great to see everybody. This was my very last trip to Hawaii and seeing all of you. And I really, really miss just hugging any one of you. The trips to the RLAs, to your region, that was always very, very special. And quite honestly, and I don't know whether this is my age, I cannot remember the strength I mentioned when I was on the water, and I cannot find my note either. I must have dropped it in the water or something. But I can only imagine it's the same one that I still remember now, because my strength has always been to find the positive in any situation. And I believe that's also helped me through this year, because what I learned this year was that I actually have everything I need and more than I do. And I really learned that I don't have to go and chase anything. I really enjoyed finally just appreciating every day what I have and making the most of it. And I don't mean what I possess. I mean what's in my life already. And this is all the people as well. It's all the people I hadn't spoken to as much. It's my family. I've never been as close to my family, although I've not seen them for a year. I mean, in person. I've not been as close to my brother. I've not been as close to my daughter and my grandson. It's just phenomenal. And I think this situation has also taught me to let go a little more easily. I usually get pretty uptight, and I find it difficult to just surrender. And it's been a phenomenal learning opportunity. And it has, Danny, what we learned from you last year, this leading from within, the power that comes from within, it resonates so much. It's so extremely strong. It's so powerful. I cannot say how grateful I am for that. It's been a huge, huge piece of the puzzle in my journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for sharing. Odette, my former forum mate, the maker of the absolute best allergy-free chocolate my wife loves. You're a gift to me personally, but I'd love to share the strength, courage, and healing. How's that showed up for you?
Yes. So thank you so much I'm so happy to be here, you guys. It's amazing to see all your faces. The past year has been incredible. I am a completely different human being from the last time you saw me. I feel like I literally transformed into a phoenix through this pandemic. The last time you saw me, I was in the middle. I'm really happy to see you all, and we're all here. I can't believe it. The last time that you saw me, I was in Hawaii and I was grieving. And when I was in that water, I said strength, courage, and healing. And it has given me a lot of time this whole year to see what that really meant. So when I came back to the US, I shut down my business. I was really super afraid because I didn't know what was going on. And I think my strength was always to be able to see what's in front of me and be able to make the right choices. But with COVID, I couldn't predict what was going to go on. And so I was really afraid because I didn't know what was going to happen to my team, didn't know what was going to happen to my business, my kids. I mean, our people going to die? So I was one of those who had just a really strong reaction. And in retrospect, it was because I was also grieving. Like I didn't want to see people die around me. It was an interesting thing. But what I've realized from then is that grief is an opening to love. And because I was just in such deep grief, I opened myself up to surrendering, and strength then became not about being hard charging, but being soft. And I was able to access like the feminine part of me that, you know, I have been hiding all along. I mean, being part of EO and an all male organization, I've always like thought I'm going to be hard charging. I'm going to be this and that, but that's not me. I'm really I'm like the divine feminine, and I've really had been able to touch that within myself, and through surrender, and I realized that love is really all that matters, and that's what will connect us throughout this whole life. And fear is not gonna go past this lifetime, and neither will hate, neither will resentment. Nothing negative will ever pass through this life. It will just stay with this body, will die with this body, but love will live on. And that's what I learned. And Danny, thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you.
Odette, thank you. Alex, you're up. Resilience. Can't hear you. Yeah, now you're just being funny. Are you a first-time Zoom user? Just kidding.
Maybe dialed in on a phone.
Are you dialed in on the phone? I don't know how to unmute that.
I'll merge it. Hold on. All right. All right, I merged it.
Try it now.
How about now?
Gotcha. Woo!
Well, I was trying to be funny. You sighed at me, and I was like, well, now I can start from nowhere to go but up.
I wasn't sighing at you. I was reading your thing.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
First, I want to say two things. One, hi, Rainbow Warriors. Rainbows have been everywhere in my life, like since we saw ours. So, rainbow for life. And second, I implemented something from meeting all of you that I have put into every single meeting I ever have. At the end of the meeting, I make everybody do this, and I love it so much. So it brings me, I posted that I switched my strength, and my strength is now joy. And this brings me so much joy. The act of rubbing my hands together, the sound it makes, the fact that I'm like hugging everybody all the time. That's really what I've carried through such a kind of year. So thank you all for really empowering me to drop that insecurity. I came to RLA very insecure in my abilities to run a new company and just kind of afraid to really be Alex. And now I get to do that all the time. And I'm not sure I would be here without RLA. So I love each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for the experience.
Thank you, Alex. John Peltonen, you're up, my friend.
Yeah, well, the word I shouted out after a really nice conversation on the way over to that beautiful spot was mindfulness. But it didn't feel right because I feel like for me, mindfulness is more of a journey than a skill or even a strength. And I would say this year, I've been really focused on openness and kindness and curiosity, positivity, of course, and just embracing the obstacles. Like so many of you have talked about, Warren and Dionysus, others, and trying to find the opportunities there. And I've been able to spend, my dad had a lung transplant just before RLA. And because of this pandemic, I was able to go out with my wife and spend 2 months with him in New Hampshire and my mom and just help them get settled. And something I never would have been able to do without this pandemic. And I think without seeing all of you just embracing life and embracing opportunities, something that I don't do enough of and really kind of, I think, walked away from RLA with. Warren, I love the 1-10-10-10. I do it almost every day. I'm inconsistently consistent and embrace that too. But most day, I probably missed like 20 this year. And I love doing it. I love the reflection. I love the opportunity for learning. Dr. Danny, part of that learning was reading your book, which I got through. So thank you for that. Very dense, lots of good stuff in there. Oh my gosh. You did not hold back. But a few things that I got out of that were really recognizing and managing reactivity. Something that, along with Eckhart Tolle's, I think, New World, I want to call it Brave New World, but I know that's not right. Those two things, I think, together really taught me to take a step back from my ego and use it more as a guide, as a teacher, more than something that I'm blindly following. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think it's really helped me with my relationship with myself and others. Yeah, so anyway, those are a few takeaways that I've had so far this year. Oh, one thing I've totally failed on, Warren, I have not at all succeeded with setting up the quarterly and annual goals, those great sheets you gave us. So proud of myself. I put them all in Excel. I was rocking it and then just like way too aggressive out of the gate. And I got to get back to those. It was a disaster.
It's a wonder you're even here having not done that, you know?
But great stuff, really wonderful takeaways, and I'm so thankful for all of you.
I'm gonna pivot over to Susie, and Susie, I remember lots of our conversations at RLA and what you were going through, and then your pivot. Can you share what strength you had figured out and how this last year's gone?
Sure, it's so great to see everybody. My goodness. And John, I really like your orange hair color. It matches your shirt. So I don't know if that's your lighting or if it's real. So my superpower that I shouted out was grace under pressure. And boy, has that really been true this year, and it continues to be true. I met all of you and then spent time with Danny and Warren one-on-one, and just meant so much to me. Really kind of early midway in my awakening and my transformation journey. And like Odette shared, I feel like a completely different person. My daughter from college and her now fiance came home at Christmas, and they said, "Mom, you're a completely different person. Calm and quiet and not reactive." And reading Danny's book was definitely life-changing. And Danny, I'll always be so thankful for that Zoom that we had. I was sitting right here. I don't know if you were sitting right there, but that was so powerful for me. And the awakened heart of compassion. And I had COVID a couple of months ago, and there was one night when the symptoms were pretty bad. And I really laid there and I thought to myself, if I died, would I die happy, filled, without regrets, and feeling like I left a legacy of faith and inspiration? And I was able to say yes. So thank you, everybody, from the bottom of my heart.
So thank you so much, Susie. We're at an hour. If anybody wants to stay on for a couple of minutes, we can continue this, but if you need to go, totally understand. But before we continue, I want to offer Danny an opportunity to wrap us, and then we can come back with some additional shares if anybody wants to. So Danny.
Well, the mark of meaning, what I track in myself is in looking at, does this moment count? I actually was far more fatigued coming into the call than I feel now. And that's because I'm sustained by your love and inspiration. I feel that, we've been in the cycle of receiving and giving love with each other that is intensely nourishing. And so it's, together we grow, together we, so I don't, how many of you are feeling more energized at this point in the call than when you came on? Yeah, so I just want to wrap by saying I just love and deeply appreciate each of you, and how you've blessed my life, with abundance. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Danny, for just always giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. You know, from the moment I met you, you have been a gift to me, to this group. Your energy, your passion, it's just inspiring. So I want to respect time, but if you can stay on the call, I'd love to hear from a couple other people that we haven't heard from. If you have something to share, throw your hand up. If not, I'll reach out or we can wrap. So Mitch, do you want to share something? You're muted, friend.
Okay, cool. I'll be quick. So I think a couple of takeaways that I had. So for Danny, one of the things that you know, among the many, I really took away the not attaching an emotion when someone says something and feeling like you have to respond right away. To like disconnect from the emotion. And man, I thought about that a lot when I got back, and we were, you know, I was having these all employee meetings and COVID and everything else, and it really helped me a lot. So thank you for that. I think something George had said, if I got it right, maybe was that, you know, we can accomplish a lot if we don't really care who gets the recognition. I don't know if that was George or not, but I remember recognizing that from the event. And then Warren, is Warren still here? Yeah. You know, seeing people for their potential versus now. That's one that Warren does naturally. And wow, has that really helped me a lot, tremendously well, especially with my kids. And then lastly, I think the takeaway from the whole trip was ideal timing, because I was president of my chapter in LA and really had to do some big time leadership with COVID and how, you know, businesses were falling off the wheels, off the rails, and we had a lot to jump in. I feel like RLA really prepared me a lot more to be a better leader and take the chapter in the direction we needed to go at the time when things were really chaotic. So it was a lot of value for me.
Perfect. Well, if anybody else have anything else they want to share or offer? George, you want to finish this? Oh, Rocco, go ahead.
Sure. I just want to say, first off, how wonderful it is to see everybody. That's really, you know, Jamie helped me out during this year. I read his book and he spent some time with me. I want to say thank you to Jamie for that. Daniel, you helped me out with, in the one Zoom call we had, I asked you a question about dealing with my brother and sister and success and family. And we've had a lot of good talks as a result of what you shared with me. So you're really very meaningful. Thank you very much. And, you know, I've been doing my 10-10-10 and it's really empowered me. You know, my superpower is determination. And I realized that through this last year, which was tumultuous, my son had surgery 3 times. And during one of the surgeries, I have to share this story with all of you. He was in the hospital about a total of 3 weeks in 3 different occasions. And during one of the surgeries, my daughter, who has been kind of in lockdown and during the summer was going to the beach with some maybe not bright friends, started vaping. And one night she was just deciding she was going to quit. So she was vaping a lot and then was going to throw them all away. Well, I got a call from my wife at 2 a.m. that my daughter, who I was home with, had hit the pipe, the vape pipe, and was having palpitations. So I had to take her to Children's Hospital. So I was at Children's Hospital, 100 yards away from my wife, who is on the 7th floor of Children's Hospital with my son, Luke, with my daughter in the ER. And I was thinking to myself, boy, I can carry a lot, because I got through it and I felt strong through it. It was a moment where I was there for my daughter, and it was a moment where I was there for my wife. And so I just wanted to say that what I learned, I think more was, I mean, determination was a lot about my sort of mindset and driving forward in business, but what I've learned is to accept myself. And Daniel helped me with that with my brothers and sisters, and to believe in myself. So self-acceptance and belief, just being able to look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, you know what, Rocco? Yeah, I mean, you are a good dad. You are a good friend. You are a good leader. And be willing to say that to myself, which it's something that giving yourself credit is really a hard thing to do. At least it's hard for me. So I wanted to say again, thank you to everybody. George, I was talking about you with Jeff Becker the other day, and we had a little talk about you. I think about all of you often, and the impact that you had on my life was just massive. So I wish you all the best, and it's really wonderful to see you all again.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. You admit I was going to move to you right before we ran out of time, so there you go. It's your shot.
That's okay. I'll be brief, Chuck. So first of all, Danny, I want to say how good I think you look bald. I do. I think you look good bald.
It does wonders for your.
Exactly. I don't think I could pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been blessed to do RLA twice. I did Kenya and then Hawaii, and I can tell you it was transformational for me. I do my 10-10 every day, and then I get up and do my gentle stretch. And I know you guys all
no, you don't
do, right? I am inspired by how, Danny, how you have handled getting the news that you have, and I'm following that, and the grace and strength that you're doing that is amazing. So thank you. George, Warren, thank you for giving me the strength. This has been a tough year for me with my friend that committed suicide. It's been a tough year for me, but yeah, this RLA has helped inspire me and guide me in terms of so many things. And so again, it is awesome to see everybody, and I love you guys and hope to see you all soon.
It's great to see you too. I'm still sore from that 7-minute light little warm up that you put us through in Hawaii.
George told me to.
Yeah, I'm sure George did. Yeah, he probably pointed at me and make that guy die. He may have done that too. So anybody else have anything to share before we go? All right. So Danny, George, Warren, thank you for being here. George, thanks for driving this and getting this all back together. I feel like my own life has been filled with so many things lately that this was not just a reunion. It was just important. It's like filled my soul just to see everybody and get just a moment in a day to pause and catch up and hear about you and hear about your lives. Danny, you are an inspiration. You're in my prayers. I just love you and appreciate you. And I think this whole group has demonstrated that they feel much the same way. So I hope this was energizing for you, and just thank you for being a gift to us.
It was, and with the way you and George have framed this up, there is such grace in holding space, and I feel blessed to be witness to magic.